All right, welcome back in game live. Game day here on the grid. Start of hour number 3 of our 4-hour extravaganza. Scott and Joe checking out a little college basketball, taking a look at the hockey. The second half of the season starts in about a week or so. And then we got a little NBA talk as well with the All-Star game, and then maybe some second half futures, some over-unders that the boys in Vegas are offering us. Take a quick little peek, Joe, at the scoreboard. Utah State, New Mexico, good game. I got it on here on my screen. It's part of my SGP. You know, we're in the ballpark. We're not great, but we're definitely there. I will tell you score-wise right now, I got 67-64. Of course, my TV is super behind, so it's now 69-66, 3.5 minutes left. New Mexico is leading. Oh, by the way, bury the lead. Laying 4.5. I have my SGP of Utah State plus 4.5. Okay. Over 159.5. What are we at? 138 points with 3 minutes left. We got a shot. I mean, hopefully it doesn't get to overtime, but I got a shot at that 159.5. The first to 80 is the one that's going to kill me. I wasn't going to put that one in either. It's 72-66, so I need Utah State to do a little bit of a rally, but that's the one that bumped the odds way up. So, but at least I got a shot here in the final minutes of this basketball game. What's on your plate?
Yeah, you definitely have a shot for them to start rallying back here, Scott. So let's hope they get that momentum going. Looking at mine, Iowa versus Maryland, I had a couple of players there. I've got Maryland's team total over 85.5. Not concerned about that. They're sitting here with 47 points at the half. What I'm concerned about is the fact that Queen just hasn't been able to get those points on the board. I took his points and rebounds over 27.5. Right now, sitting here with 4 points and 6 rebounds. And then Reese, I also played his points and rebounds over 26.5. He's on pace for that. He's got 10 points and 5 rebounds as we sit. But Gilsappi, a player that I really didn't circle in this one, I was a little concerned if he could get his points on the board. He's hit all 3 of his balls from deep, 13 points in Miguel, also with 12 points out there. So they're really spreading that ball around, hitting those threes out there. Maryland is, and they're going to need to continue to do so. So if you're looking at Gilsappi, I do think he comes out in the second half and is able to sink more threes. And I just want to see if we're able to get a live bet on him. I'm not able to get anything on FanDuel, Scott. I'm not sure if you are there in New York, but, you don't get these player props. So anyone who can get Gilsappi, I do think he gets a couple more threes on the board. He's going to need to sink them, and Maryland knows that he has had success, 3 of 3 today. So he should continue to play strong.
All right. Yeah, we don't get the player props as far as the college basketball, as we talked about. Sadly, maybe that'll change somewhere along the line. I'm hoping so. So, 72-66. We got a timeout in the court with New Mexico. Maryland's at the half. 50. The good news is, at least it's a high-scoring game. So you think your guys would eventually, get their points. I mean, 51 points out of Iowa, 47. You would think that, your prop players would be like sitting on gold there, but not the case. 185.5 is your total in that one. Wow, that's a monster number. That's 98 points first half. That's 88 points second half. Hate to play an under when they're just scoring like that, but there's got to be some regression, right? I mean, can they continue to shoot like that? I think I'm going to just little hunch on the over, Joe. 186 points. That's a lot of points. It just somewhere along the line, we're going to get a little bit of a dry spell. Both these teams, especially after halftime, they both were pooped. Like, oh, my goodness, we got to play another half after racing up and down the court. Let me see what they're doing shooting-wise, too. I bet they're obviously both shooting lights out, but let's just, out of curiosity's sake, let's see what they're doing here. Iowa shooting 57%, Maryland 57% or 56.5. Maryland shooting, holy fudge, 61.5% from 3, and Iowa shooting 57% from 3. There you go.
Look at the free throws as well, right? They're hitting those free throws. There's only been 1 miss for the whole game.
Yeah. Wow.
Fear of overtime, though?
Right.
It shouldn't continue, right? They never hit those free throws. But the fear of overtime, Scott, it was a plus what? 1340 something before the half. It's now plus 1260 for these guys to go to overtime. Do you think they hold it tight? Like, this is 51-47. This is a really tight game right now. If it goes to overtime, we go over. If it doesn't, we stay under.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think, if it goes to overtime, forget about it. This is going to sail past the number. So, yeah, and I don't think it will. So it's someone will pull away. So, by the way, who won the golf? I don't even see my guy on the board. Oh, you know what? That's right. I cashed out. We had.
Did you cash out both tickets?
Yeah, I did. I did. I felt bad for the poor guy. You know what? And lo and behold, he's leading, Joe. It figures. I swear, it figures. I didn't want to pay attention. I don't know why, because there was nothing going on today. This would have been the perfect day to have it. I wasn't thinking yesterday after the show. I was like, yeah, let me just cash out. No big deal. Let the poor guy win, right? Because I was going to do just the one. Because if you didn't watch yesterday, so when we put the bets in on Wednesday, I accidentally put in Lundberg, Aberg in twice. Just one of those dopey things, right? So lo and behold, he's actually on the leaderboard. He was 2 or 3 shots back in third place heading into today. They were offered a pretty good payout. They had bumped it up to over 5-1, just over 5-1 on my bets. Like, well, that's a pretty darn good payout. So I was going to do the one. And then I just said, I felt bad for the guy. You know what? If I have his ticket, he's not winning. So let the poor sap win. So I cashed out both. And lo and behold, here he is. He's at 12 under par. -6 today he shot. -6. He's in the clubhouse already. The only guy that's on the course is there anybody on the course that's still it says in progress, but I don't know how that could be in progress. Two guys that are way back, 4 back and 5 back. So this guy's gonna win. And I cashed out twice.
But you got 4-1 to your money on both of those tickets, so I don't blame you, Scott.
On 22-1. I was sitting on 22-1.
You would have had to go on vacation then, Scott. And what would we have done here at the grid without you? So I'm glad you cashed out.
That's true. What we would have done without opposite picks. Cam is never going to let me down because this was his pick. He comes in on Wednesdays and and I always put a couple shekels, not a lot, but a couple shekels on his plays just to say, be in team with Cam. So when I tell him when he returns next week that I cashed out on both of my tickets, I don't know if he'll laugh or cry or just say you dope. I don't know, but.
I'm guessing the later, right? Yeah. I'm sure he's gonna have a laugh at you and go, Scott, why didn't you listen?
Wow. And I tell you, Brady, to his credit, yesterday, right? He said, he liked Aberg. He I think he had a ticket on him as well, but
he did.
And he was like 2 or 3 back. I think he was 3 back. And he said, you know what? He's got a halfway decent. Because I asked him, I said, would you cash out on one of them? And he said, he really likes them. And he would have bet him if he didn't have a ticket on him. He said bet on Aberg heading into today. So I can't believe it.
Well, you did the guy a favor, Scott, because if you didn't cash out, you would be sitting here in the opposite position, right?
Oh, absolutely. So, if I didn't cash out, there's not a chance in the world, Joe. This guy would have won this tournament. Not a chance in the world. No way. No way. So I should write him, and maybe he'll thank me instead of tipping the caddy. He should tip me, cashing out on his ticket.
Absolutely.
22-1, 22-1, and I cashed out at actually 4-1. I'm looking at it now. I cashed out at right. Welcome again.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe got a good one in the Mountain West as Utah State is at New Mexico. The Pit's very hard to win there, but they're giving it their all. That is for sure for the Aggies, who were down, were they down 7 or 8 not that long ago. But they've come back, Joe. It's 77-76, 19 seconds left. New Mexico made one of 2 free throws. Now they made a second free throw, so I'm assuming they have one more coming because the first free throw came with 56 seconds left. So, boy, Utah State had a chance to take the lead. I'm looking at the possession now. It was 77-76 with 50 seconds left. Now they're taking a point back. FanDuel's a little wacky. All right, so it's 80-79. I'll just watch on TV. I'm forgetting about what FanDuel's got.
Right, it keeps jumping back and forth.
I know,
Scott,
right?
I
don't know.
Going and coming and leaving. I'm seeing 3 seconds, 1 point game. We'll see. What are you seeing on your TV?
25 seconds left. New Mexico by 1, 77-76. So okay. I don't know how we could be at 80-79. 15 seconds left. 10 seconds left. Oh, the kid buried a 3. Oh, a deep 3.
He got the 3.
Put him up 4 with 9.4 seconds left. Oh, big time
and then
shot.
Fouled, or New Mexico fouled, and we got a couple of points there because I'm seeing 80-79.
Yeah.
With 3 seconds.
Utah State just came down and buried a 3, so we got a timeout on the court. Nice job by Utah State. So New Mexico State has a 1-point lead with 3 seconds left. They're going to inbound the ball from their, their back court. It's kind of weird. NBA, you can advance the ball. Girls basketball, since I'm a world-class girls high school basketball official, I know you can advance the ball. Boys basketball, you can't. Why? Who knows? There's so many dopey, quirky rules, Joe, between girls ball and boys ball. That's just like, why not just make it the same? Why do you got to be different? And in this case, it's the boys that are different. So point is they can't advance the ball. So they're going to try and inbound the ball from underneath their own basket. Let's say they inbound the ball. New Mexico or Utah State's going to foul, right away. At least they should. That'll send New Mexico to the line. Even if they hit both free throws, Utah State with maybe 2 seconds left. Ooh, they added a half a second too. They went to the line. 4 seconds. Yeah. Right? So Utah State's got a shot to send us to overtime. We got an overtime play here, possibly. That would be great.
We absolutely do, because the clock will start as soon as the ball leaves the player's hands, right? Not as soon as they
touch. As soon as someone touches it.
Okay. As soon as someone touches it.
Yeah, so someone has to touch it for the clock. So if they can foul right away, Utah State, they don't have any more timeouts, unfortunately, I'm seeing on the TV set, if the TV is right, which I'm assuming it is. So they would I tell you, if I was New Mexico, if I knew what I was doing, if they get fouled with 3 seconds left, kid goes to the free throw line, tell them try and make the first, miss the second one on purpose. Without any timeouts, they're going to get, even if Utah State got the rebound with 2 or 3 seconds left without a timeout, they would have to throw up an 80-footer. So that's what I would do. I would definitely tell that kid to miss that second free throw. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see how good. Rick Pitino's son is the head coach at New Mexico. So we'll see how he handles it. Double timeout, back-to-back timeouts there. The final 4 seconds will take about 4 hours. By the time
it's always the thing, Scott. We got 2 seconds I'm seeing left on the clock. So something happened out there. 2 seconds left, 1 point game. I don't know. It'd be pretty awesome if Utah State finds a way to do it.
Right. Yeah, something must have happened. But I see a second timeout. Yeah. So I don't know. I think FanDuel's wrong on that. I think.
Okay.
Because I got him in another timeout, and I'm not that far behind. Yeah. So I think there really is 4 seconds left. But whatever. They're not posting any lines on that one, and they're not posting any lines for whatever reason on Maryland, which leads 55-51 early second half against Iowa. So all right, let's see what happens. They're at the pit, and New Mexico's getting ready to inbound the basketball. So, foul him. What are you doing?
Oh, no. Why didn't they foul?
I don't know. They fouled with 0.8 seconds left. Good.
No. That's not good,
That's
Scott.
Not good.
Yeah, this game, Iowa, Maryland's all locked up. Maryland is up by 55 to 51 over Iowa. So 1 second left now. I'm seeing what's happening, Scott. We need to know.
Yeah, I think they're going to the scorers table. God forbid. A lot of these games in college basketball, just NBA as well, they just take forever because they have to double check everything. I get it. So they're going to the scorers table. I think they're going to add like a couple of tenths of a second. So there should be about 1.3, 1.4 seconds left. New Mexico's at the free throw line. They made the first. They made the second. That's stupid. All right, so we got a second left. So Utah State does have 1 second to throw the ball in bounds, and let's see if they actually get it. I doubt it, but nope, they didn't. Yeah, they missed.
They didn't. They missed it. Okay, but they covered the spread. Utah State.
They did cover the spread. That's right.
That's what we needed. Right?
There you go. Yeah, didn't hit with my parlay, but they did cover the spread, 82-79. So
there we go.
But that's not smart. I mean, unless you just don't have any confidence. The ball does have to hit the rim, which you wouldn't think would be that difficult. But, it just goes to show how lack of confidence you have. It doesn't make any sense to make that second free throw. It really doesn't. Why give Utah State a chance to inbound the ball? Whereas if you miss with a second left, that's it. Game's over. Game's over. I mean, this way you get a Bobby Hurley, Christian Laettner situation. And kid got off a shot from half court too, but it was blocked.
Wow.
So
they're lucky. They're really lucky, right? Because you imagine if that deep ball went in, right?
Or if he fouled
been looking at a much different game. Yeah.
Yeah, or if you fouled him. I mean, so all right, that was fun. New Mexico wins 82-79. All right, back to the board we go in Game Live. Game 10.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass in the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop you back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush-push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes, end of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game go do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe checking out the college basketball scene. So just finished up. New Mexico does win 82-79, Joe, by SGP. We came close, but close only counts in hand grenades and bowling, right? So Utah State did cover, had that at 4.5. We had the over 159.5. That hits. We had over 160 points. We had New Mexico over 81.5 points. The kid hitting that free throw there gave him 82, so that hit. Second half over 83.5 points did not. It had 83, and then Utah State first to 80. That was the one I knew that was going to be a little risky. And lo and behold, we came close. What was it, 79-79? I mean, next bucket it covers, but they didn't get the next bucket. They didn't score again, so that one missed as well. So I missed 2 out of my 5 legs. It was fun though. We were in it. It's the price of admission, right? You got a little entertainment there. At least we were in it until the very, very end.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the parlays. It's nice to see them go nice and deep into those games. And I like where you went with it. It's just too bad that we weren't able to get those last 2 legs, but it still was a solid parlay. And now my parlay, I'm still waiting for some of these players to show up between Reese and Queen. I'm not going to look at their numbers right now, Scott. I'm going to look at them in the next couple minutes because I'm nervous for this one. I took their points and their rebounds. I don't want to get myself overly excited as Maryland is leading this game 68-55. So it looks like we've gone on a little bit of a run here to start this second half out of Maryland. They've outscored Iowa. Are you ready for this? 21-4. Like, I'm shocked with what they're doing right now. So I'm going to look at these player points, the 10-minute mark, give them a couple of, they've got 3 minutes and 59 seconds till I'm willing to look. I just want to see this run continue before I jinx it. And we talked about jinxes yesterday. I tried to jinx you yesterday. It didn't work. We were able to go over that. But this is where I'm getting nervous. I'm like, should I look? Because they put up 21 points. Queen and Reese definitely need to get in this game. So fingers crossed that they are, Scott.
All right, you know what? I got another SGP with the Northern Iowa Murray State game, so we'll do that next segment. So I'll do mine, and then you can recap yours. So that'll give them, a nice little 5 to 10 minute window there where these guys can accumulate some points, and hopefully your guys can come through. So we're talking a little hockey there before, Joe, with some of the second half futures, and We were talking President's Cup. Who's going to win that? FanDuel's offering that. We got the Ovechkin versus Gretzky. We talked about that. I got two here to make the playoffs that they offer up. One that's really like, wow, I must say. And another one is not too bad. Chances are you can't hit both. You're going to hit one or the other, but it pays enough. I was looking at Columbus and the Islanders. Columbus right now is plus 630 on FanDuel to make the postseason. They're one game out. For a long period, for about 2 weeks, they were in a playoff spot, believe it or not. They've really turned their season around second half of the year. They played really good hockey. They had lost 4 in a row, so I don't know if this is them coming back to the pack a little bit, but they got 26 games left, and most teams usually have 26, 27, 14 at home, 12 on the road. They're 1 point out. They are battling the Islanders, who are 4 points out. And oddly enough, the Islanders are plus only 330, whereas Columbus is plus 630, and Columbus is only 1 out. Islanders have a game in hand, 27 games, 15 and 12, 15 home, 12 on the road. They're playing good hockey. I think 7 and 3 out of the last 10. I mean, again, who knows what's going to happen after this 2-week break with all these teams, but I think both have a halfway decent chance of making the playoffs. I think one of the two will, and if you have tickets on both, either way, you're going to win some money.
Well, yeah, I can't disagree with you here. 60 points right now with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So we know the Senators and the Red Wings are sitting right there in the wild card spot, but they are just sitting below. And then you've got the Boston Bruins and the New York Rangers. And Scott, when we look at the difference here with the Columbus Blue Jackets sitting there at plus 630, the Bruins are plus 220, and the New York Rangers are plus 118. So I'm not really understanding why they're not giving you less value here on the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think it is a really solid way to go. So I love where you're sitting there with them for them to squeak in 60 points. The Red Wings sitting there with 61, 62 for the Ottawa Senators. They have every ability to sneak into a wild card spot. So plus 630, I'm going to tail you on that.
Yeah, and there's really two places, right? Ottawa, Detroit. I mean, we're not talking, Carolina or Tampa Bay or Toronto. Those are two teams that clearly can go back to the pack a little bit. So we'll talk more about it on the other side and some more SGPs for tonight right here on In Game Live.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass in the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop you back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush-push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes. End of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game going, do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Let's hop right back on the horse. You know the saying, get right back at it, right? So we came up a little short with our SGP. It's a light night, so how about a second SGP same game parlay for today? We're going to use the Northern Iowa and Murray State game, Joe. Going to bump the odds up a little bit. Northern Iowa getting 1.5. I'm going to make them favorites. I think they're going to win. They're the much better team over Murray State. So I'm going to bump them up to minus 550 against Murray State. I'm going to go over team total Northern Iowa, 67.5 points. I think they should hit that pretty. In fact, I really, out of all the plays, I like that one a lot. I think they're going to come out flying because this is another one like we had with Utah State. Northern Iowa, the much better team, lost at home to Murray State earlier this year. So this is really a bonus little play. Northern Iowa, I think they're going to come out flying, so I'm going to play them first to 25. They actually boosted the odds up quite a bit. I forget how much it was, but I'm going to play Northern Iowa minus a half first half as well. So if they're the first to score 25, you would think they would be leading at halftime, right? So they figure to get about 30, 35 points. But they boosted it up about 60, 70 points or so. So Northern Iowa plus a half a point first half line. And then Murray State under 67.5 points for the entire game. So Northern Iowa laying 5.5. Northern Iowa over 67.5 points. Northern Iowa first to 25. Northern Iowa minus a half a point first half against the spread line. And then Murray State under 67.5 points. And it pays only, and I mean only, plus 494, about 5 to 1. I thought it would have paid a little bit more than that, but they are kind of correlated. So plus 494.
I appreciate a 5-to-1 parlay, Scott. I'm going to tail you on that as soon as we're on commercial break here because I think it's a great way to go with that same game parlay in that matchup. And 5-to-1, I'm happy with. Now, when I'm looking at my same game parlay, right now Maryland up 76-61. I need their team total to hit over 85.5 points. We got 10 minutes left in this game, so that is looking pretty solid. We're on pace to hit that number. With Iowa sitting here with 61, I still think they keep pushing. Now, when I look at Reese and Queen, I took both their points and rebounds combined to the over. Reese is coming in here with 12 points and 10 rebounds, so 22 in total. His number was a 26.5. So we've got a little bit of a way to go there. And then Queen coming out here with 12 points and 7 rebounds. So we need a little bit more out of him in this one, sitting here with 19 points. But with 10 minutes left, we do have Reese on the court. Queen isn't on the court. We're really seeing a lot of action out of Rice, Giuseppe, and Miguel out there. Giuseppe has 20 points already in this game. He's been really strong at hitting those threes. We talked about it before when he was 3 of 3 from deep. He's now gone 4 of 5 from deep. So having lots of success. Rice as well, going 3 of 6, and Miguel 4 of 7. So those 3 points are really hitting for Maryland. I'm hoping that Queen and Reese can get a little bit more in this one. Neither of them have been able to hit a 3, but they haven't been trying to. And that's why I looked at both of these players for their rebounds, because these players love to drive into the paint. They're able to win that rebound battle under the net, especially those offensive rebounds. And I do think we'll continue to see them have success. So still only 22 points and rebounds combined for Reese. We need that over 26.5. And Queen sitting here with 19. We need that over 27.5. So I need Queen to get going as soon as he hits the court, Scott.
Yeah, you would have thought those guys were 76 points midway through the second half, right? I mean, they're on pace for 100 points. I don't know if they get there or not, but they're on pace for that. You think both those guys would have more than just 12 points because you're getting the rebounds. I mean, you got 10 out of Reese, you got 7 out of Queen, so that's not where they're lacking. It's the point total, only 12 apiece for those two guys. So you would have thought, like I said, and they're both shooting well. 6 of 7 for Reese and Queen 4 of 7. I'm looking at the box score. So it's not like they're not hitting their shots. They're just not taking them. 60% from the field for Maryland. Kind of a weird game when you look at their stats, although they are up, 15. So, but 50% for Iowa. So, hopefully you get your numbers there. I would think they would, turn it on and you get your numbers, but we will see. So at least you're still in it at 5-1. You're definitely still there. Yeah. Any interest in the Daytona 500, which is now back up and running after a lengthy rain delay, Joe?
You know what? I'm going to have to look and see what we're getting with those odds right now, Scott, because I haven't looked at it since this originally had kicked off. What about you? Where were you going with Daytona 500?
I have no clue. I shouldn't say that. I know the drivers. I know their names, the Denny Hamlins and the Joey Logano's and the Chase Elliott's of the world. Do I follow sport? No, I don't. But you know what? It's a Sunday afternoon, and there's not a whole heck of a lot on. So why not? What the fudge? Mm-hmm. Right now, I got it on lap 41 of 200 laps. Like I said, they started it earlier today. They actually moved it up about an hour because of rain in the forecast. Rain came. But it did stop because they're back on there. I tell you, it looks like it's midnight there. I will say 6 o'clock. Well, yeah, I guess it is a little bit after 6 it is. So right now, Chase Elliott has the lead. Joey Logano is in second place. Again, they're not even a quarter of the way through the race. Logano's at 8-1. He was one of the odds-on favorites. Get pretty good numbers. I will say this about Daytona 500 or auto racing. You're getting halfway decent numbers. Now, there's a number of guys who could actually win this thing, but, at least you're not getting like 2-1, 3-1. Heck, do as golfers do, or golfer bettors. You pick 5 guys, as long as one of the 5 comes in, you're going to win some money because everyone is 8-1 or better. So I'll put a couple shekels on Logano and I'll put a couple shekels on Chase Elliott since he's battling for the lead at 12-1. Those would be my 2 guys.
I think it's a strong way to go, but I also like that top 3 finishing spot for both of those guys. Actually, Joey Logano coming in for that top 3 finish at plus 230. I know you're not getting the plus 800, you are getting him to win, but I still do think he can finish in the top 3, even if he doesn't win. And Chase Elliott coming in at plus 340. If I'm looking further down the list, like you said, Dougie Hamilton has the ability there to win it all. He's coming in at plus 410, and Kyle Busch at plus 390. Is there anyone you have a feeling that could just pull away from the back here, Scott? Because, there's a lot of racers here that we can get more plus money on. I just don't know if we can see it happening. Like Alex Bowman here is plus 900 to finish in the top 3. I think something would have to happen for him to move into that kind of positioning, though. What are your thoughts on anyone lower down the list?
But you know what? It could happen. That's how goofy auto racing is. I'll never forget my first event. It was at the Meadowlands in New Jersey. And this was literally 25 years ago, right? So the guy who ended up winning was like a next to last place, but there was a crash on the next to last lap. And this guy came from last place to win. And I asked him, like, how goofy is that? I mean, you were in next to last place, for goodness sakes, the whole race. You ended up winning this thing. And he looked at me like I was like, I had 5 eyes, right? Well, that's auto racing, you dope, So I'm like this 22-year-old kid, working for a local radio station. And I just kind of like, okay, fine. So that's how auto racing is. You could be, way behind and you have a crash and everyone's got to get all scrunched back into the pack and you basically have a refinish. So all these guys are all available, especially, 3/4 of the race left. So look for the bigger names. The Bubba Wallace's is out there. Martin Truex Jr., 35-1. Brad Keselowski at maybe 18-1. Isn't too bad.
Yeah, I like it.
Who else? Yeah, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 35. Yeah. Kyle Larson was a pretty good. He was original, one of the better favorites. He's 16-1. Like I said, you get pretty good. I will say, like I said, you get great odds with these guys. If you just, you got to throw a dart and hope that they finish it.
Oh, absolutely. Even looking at the top 10 finishing spots, like you got Josh Berry coming in here at top 10 for plus 170. I think he can finish in the top 10 there. So lots of value at Daytona 500. I'm excited,
Yeah,
Scott.
we don't have that in New York. What we can bet on here in New York is just who's going to win the race, unfortunately. So, more coming up.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass in the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop you back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush-push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes, end of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game go do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe, hour number 3, as we take a look at the Daytona 500. So I got Joey Logano for a couple shekels and Chase Elliott. We are quarter of the way through, and we got Logano on top, and Elliott is where the hell is he? Yeah, he's off the leaderboard completely.
Oh no,
he was on there a second ago. We have a break there. Boy, you're talking about the black cloud. He's not even in the top 20. What did he do? Crash? For goodness sake?
No.
Where is he? Oh, my goodness. Wow.
That black cloud working strong today.
Yeah, I tell you what. I don't see he's not there. They're listed at top 20. I got Logano, Byron, Hamlin, Busch, Keselowski, and then down the line they go. And there's no Chase Elliott. So I don't know how this guy unless he crashed. He couldn't have crashed because they would still be in the red flag. So something happened to him. If he, all right. So basically, I probably have just one. That's Logano. So we'll see. We'll follow that for the next couple of moments here. Well, for the rest of the show, probably this thing's going to last forever. Long holds out. Let me see. Check out the excuse me, the college basketball. The one game we got going on, Joe. It is Maryland up 86-62, so they're certainly pulling away from Iowa. 25.5 and the over-under down just a tick. We said at halftime that 185.5, 186. There was a lot of points. It's down to 181.5. So not too bad. Then we got a few games that are starting at the top of the hour that we can kind of touch on next segment. But How about a little NBA talk, Joe? Same thing with the NHL. It's in its All-Star break. The goofiness of the All-Star game, forget about that, right? Knock yourself out. You can't even bet the over. One of the great all-time great bets that the bettor had in its back pocket, bet the over in an All-Star game. You can't do that because they changed the format, and now you got to count on the losing team scoring a certain amount of points because they stop it after 40. So how about a little second half action? I did have some over-unders here, second half, that I'm willing to play. Knock on wood, we do a pretty good job with these second. I love the second half totals more than I do the season starting totals, just because you get a sense of who's what. And dare I say it, but I think it's a little bit easier to pick after the first half than it is to start the game. We'll go in alphabetical order. How about the Boston Celtics, right? Great team. They're giving you 59.5. Now they're 39-16. So they need 60 wins, right? They have 27 games left. They would need to go 21-6 in order to get to 60 wins. I don't think they're going to get there. I really don't. I like the under. They have 14 at home, 13 on the road, so it's a pretty even split. 21-6, that's a great record, right? And it's all about motivation for me with some of these lines, because I don't know what's going to keep the Celtics motivated the final, we'll say 2 weeks of the regular season, because they're probably not catching Cleveland. Cleveland has a 6-game lead with 27 games left. Unless the Cavaliers had a complete collapse, Celtics are going to be the number 2 seed. They got to fight off the Knicks. I will say that. But I don't know if they're going to have reason, Joe, to really play lights out to close out the regular season. So I'm willing to take a crack at the under 59.5 Boston Celtics.
Yeah, I hear you. I know we all love to bet those overs, but like you said, Scott, with their home and road splits and how many games they're going to have to win out there, I just can't see them going that strong. So I would take the under as well. You're laying less juice to the under at -108. I keep glancing down at this college basketball game, Scott. I need one more point out of Queen, and the same game parlay has hit. So give me one more point out of Queen. I'm gonna try to focus on what you're saying right now, but Queen is on the court. I'm super excited for this.
Did you get Reese? He went over his number?
Yeah, he's got 16 points and 12 rebounds, so putting us over 26.5 for his points and rebounds combined.
So you got 27 right now at a Queen, and you need one more point or one more rebound?
And one more rebound, because his number was 28.5, and we have 17 points and 11 rebounds. So need one more.
27.5 was his number. That's what I wrote down.
He was 27.5, and Reese was 26.5. I was thinking it was 28.5. It's cashed. It's the same game parlay as cash, Scott.
Wow.
Now I can focus on NBA win total.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I cut and paste from the emails that we had before the show. So
I'm checking right now. That's exactly what it was. Oh, I'm so glad you told me that, because I would have been sitting here not looking at my ticket and thinking I had a loser. If he wasn't able to get one more.
Right.
Wrong numbers in my head.
All right. That's a nice little 5-1 plus 509. Yeah. That's, nothing wrong with that, right? Very nice.
It's a good day at the office.
Good day at the office. Listen, not every SGP is going to be 10, 15 to 1. I mean, I know it's enticing to add more to get it up there, but, sometimes you just got to win. It's just nice to just win. Instead of having 5 or 6 pieces, you have 3, and you hit all 3, and it paid a 6 to 1, and it really, or 5 to 1, and that's almost, a 3-leg parlay traditionally pays 6 to 1. So they didn't take that much out of it. They correlated the over Maryland with the over Maryland players that you had. So that's the price of admission, I suppose. But at least that's close enough. I'll take that. That's actually not too bad. So, 27.5. Hopefully he gets a few more, so there's no worries at whatever. But
don't take anything away, right? Like, don't take any of those points. Don't take any of those rebounds away, because I need every single one of them to hit that. Because if I lose by the hook because they take one away, it's not going to be a pretty day. But Boston, give me the Boston Celtics under 59.5 wins for the rest of the season, coming in at -108. I think it's a great way to go, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not the hardest schedule in the world, but again, a lot of this is predicated on the last couple of weeks. Are they really going to go all out to win these games when they know they can't catch Cleveland? The key is there's a home game against Cleveland February 28th. If they were to lose that, then that would really put an end. But they got Philadelphia on the road tough. They got the Knicks a couple times. They got the Lakers. They got OKC. They got a tough little, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 game road trip, including at Memphis. Yeah, I don't think they're going 21-6 the rest of the way. I really don't. I will take a look at the games that start top of the hour. There's more NBA over-unders when we return.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass in the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop you back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush-push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes. End of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game go do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe, as we close out hour number one, just take a look at some of the NBA props that we could do for the second half of the season. We'll get back to that in a second here, Joe. There is one game starting top of the hour that we might as well throw out there. 12-13, we talked about it a little bit before, but just to kind of go over it again for the new audience. 12-13, Rutgers flies out west to Oregon, takes on 17-8 the Ducks. RU 11-13-1 against the spread on the season, 14-11 over. Oregon only 10-15 against the spread. They've been a disappointment this year. 15-10 over, including 4 in a row. Rutgers not good on the road. 4-11 against the spread their last 15 road games. Oregon very good at home. They play in that goofy court. You can't watch the game. I get a headache after 2 minutes. 12-4 straight up at home. 4-1 over last 5 on the road. And then overall, as far as wins and losses are concerned, Rutgers 4-10 as an underdog this season straight up. Oregon 14-5 straight up as a favorite. Point spread for the game, survey says, let me go to baskets. Oregon laying 7.5, minus 345 on the money line, plus 270 for Rutgers. Over 153.5 is your total. I know Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, thought that Rutgers was a live dog tonight. What about you?
Are we getting any team totals for this game, Scott? Because that's where I think I'd want to dive in. I'm thinking that we might get a little bit lower here for Rutgers. Again, I don't get these lines up here in Canada for some weird reason. But if we're getting Rutgers at a nice discounted rate for their team total, especially with Jeff Dawson thinking they might be live in this one, it could be a nice way to target it because I do think they should be able to put up some points here on Oregon.
Yeah, 72.5 for Rutgers, 80.5 for Oregon.
Well, yeah, I'm tempted to look at the 72.5 to the over if I was able to bet it, Scott, because I do think my number in my head was right around that 74, 75 mark. So 72.5, I think, is a little light here. What about you?
Yeah, and I will say this about Rutgers. They're 4-1 against the spread. Their last 5 as an underdog. Now, a couple of those were at home, but I know a couple were on the road as well. So I don't trust them plus the 7.5, but I think they put 70 plus on the board. So pretty good over teams. Oregon's going to want to go up and down the court. So, yeah, that might be the best way. I think it's a market that I should look more into, Joe. I don't very often. Not never. I do look at it every once in a while, but team totals on some of this stuff, it's just easier to root for points and don't worry about point spreads. Don't worry about fouling in the end. You're getting 7.5 and they're down 4 and they foul and then they give up a bucket again and they foul again. All of a sudden you lose by 8 or 9 and you're like, this was a 1-possession game 2 minutes ago. So team totals, are maybe a little bit easier to bet than some of this other stuff.
It's definitely my favorite in college basketball because, Scott, how many times do we come down to that last 20 seconds and that spread is just killed by a late basket that is meaningless, except for that team that just ruined your bet because they either didn't cover the spread because the opponent was able to get the basket or they covered the spread and you had the opponent. So it's frustrating sometimes with these spreads in college basketball. These kids play to the very buzzer, right? This isn't like the NBA where sometimes they just take their foot off the gas. 20 seconds left. They know they're not winning. They're not going to drive into the paint and score a basket there when they don't need to, right? So in college basketball, these kids give it their all. So it's sometimes hard.
Yeah. Here's another NBA one. I tell you, this is one of my favorites. It really is. And I will say I'm sitting on their team total over from the beginning of the year, but I don't think it's happening. Chicago Bulls, Joe, under 30.5. They're 22-33 right now, which means they would have to go 9-18 the rest of the way, which isn't, that's not that good, right? But I don't even know if they go 9-18. I really don't. They haven't won since the trade deadline when they traded Zach LaVine. They haven't come close to winning. You look at their final scores. They lost back-to-back home games to Detroit, for goodness sakes, to close out the first half of the season by 18 and by 40 in back-to-back games. They lost to Golden State by 21. They lost to the Teacups by 19. I mean, when the GM came out and said, yep, we're trading Zach LaVine and we want to bottom out, we don't want to win. That's in essence what he said. We don't want to be mediocre anymore. We want to bottom out. And I think the players are saying, okay, if you don't want to win, neither do we. I don't know. They got 12 home games and 15 road games. They're not winning any road games. I'll tell you that.
No.
So I do like the under 30.5 for Chicago.
Yeah, and the books like it too. Minus 144 to the under 30.5. I'm shaking my head looking at that number because it feels like a number they should be able to get to. But I'm with you, Scott. They're not getting there.
Yep. Pat Floor, Mud Sports Radio, joins us next here on the Grid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass on the ground is where the ball goes. Period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop you back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes. End of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game go do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. In-game live, game day here on the grid on a Sunday now evening here on the East Coast. Scott Wetzel, Joe Madden for another 60 minutes or so as we take it at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Talking a little basketball. Joe and I finished up with a couple of NBA props. We'll get back to that in a second. Some college basketball games, one starting here in a little bit. We got a couple more later on tonight that we can put some action on. So let's check in with our good buddy, Cab Farrar. Pub Sports Radio is his home. What's going on, Cab? How are you tonight, bud?
Oh, I was just telling you guys backstage, there's not as much action going on today. So a little bit, of a break for the sports betting people. I mean, I still have bets today, but don't get me wrong, without, NFL, without, a ton of good college basketball games, no NBA, no NHL. I mean, gosh, today's a day to sit back and look at what you've been doing, assess, how your investments have been going, so to speak, and get ready to start making some more as these sports start coming back.
Yeah, it definitely is. Nice down day for a lot of people out there, not having as much money out there on the table. What did you think of the game between Maryland and Iowa? We did see Maryland just finish that one up. They won at 101-75. They never took their foot off the gas in that game. They continued to put those baskets up, even though they were leading, and it looked like they were going to get the win no matter what, but they just kept going in it.
Yeah, I like this Maryland team. They're sitting at 25th right now in the nation. They're not like a team that I would have as a sleeper to make, any kind of run in the tournament. But I do like them. A team that I like that lost today, since we're talking the college basketball games, is that Memphis. Memphis, dropping to Wichita. That was a big loss for Memphis. I would hate to be in a situation for Memphis, though, like they were in with Wichita State. Because, they're the number one team in the conference. Everybody's gunning for them every single game. And today they finally lost one. So, and, we saw the number 14 team in the nation lose to Wichita State, which might shock some people. But to me, like I said, Memphis has been, they're under the gun every single game in that conference, being the only good team in the conference. So I like Maryland bringing them up, but I like Memphis more. And I would not freak out about that loss. I like Memphis as a sleeper in the tournament. I really do.
How about St. John's, Cab? Here in New York, there was a lot of if you wanted to be a pessimist, people were saying about a week and a half or so ago that they hadn't really beaten anybody. They were playing the lower teams in the Big East, but then they get Marquette, they win, and then they win against a decent Creighton team at home, 79-73. They're ranked 9th in the country. If you're looking for dark horses, would you put St. John's on your list?
Man, I tell you what, and it's funny you didn't say UConn because they had that win against UConn, but UConn's falling off, huh? Yeah, UConn's sure falling off though. I could feel UConn like about to come out, and then you held it back. Here's the thing: in that UConn game, though, they showed me something because they were down there, and I know St. John's can play defense. It's their offense that I worry about. I worry that there may be a little bit of like a Houston team of years past where their defense can play with anyone, but if their offense goes cold for 6 minutes, they're out of the game. Well, that happened in that game. and they still came back and won it, and they won it comfortably. So, yeah, I like St. John's a lot, and I think they're quickly going to be getting on more people's radar. That this basketball team's for real, so they'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely fun to watch. Was there any other games either today or yesterday that really piqued your interest in how a team did perform out there, Cab?
Like games that have already happened?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Kentucky-Texas game I was interested in yesterday, but I'll tell you what with that. Kentucky was missing Robinson. They were missing Butler. They had 2 key players down, and Bree did not step up at all. So don't get too excited about that win for Texas if you're a Texas fan. I'm just going to shoot you straight. Texas is still a soft basketball team. If Kentucky's healthy, they win that game. So that was a good one. I enjoyed watching Houston play Arizona. That was a fun game. I bring up Houston. Houston's a little different this year. I'd say their defense isn't quite as good as it's been in years past, but their offense doesn't seem to have the holes that they've had in it. LJ Cryer's looking really comfortable at that guard spot. And they've just got, a lot of people that have been there, done that. They're senior led. So Houston is a team this year where a lot of people are out on Houston. I say Houston all the way. I'll be backing them in the tournament a lot.
All right. A couple games later on tonight. I know you like the one in particular, Louisville at Notre Dame. Your thoughts on that contest?
And now, the bet that I made, Scott, in this is just because it's Sunday night and I need some action. So don't go, taking out a second mortgage on your house or something. If you guys, anyone listening is wanting to tell, this is degenerate central here. I wanted to bet. I enjoy, having a little action when I have dinner. So I took Chucky Hepburn, the transfer from Wisconsin, for Louisville over 1.5 threes, and then Louisville just to win the basketball game. You can get that at -110. So that's the bet. But let's talk about this Louisville team a little bit. Last year and the year before last, Louisville was awful. I mean, one of the worst teams in college basketball. So this turnaround has been a lot of fun to watch this year. And it's all thanks to the transfer portal, right? It's a completely different game than it was just 10 years ago when you look at how, basketball teams change. And this Louisville team, they got Chucky Hepburn, like I said. He was the guard for Wisconsin. He transferred in. And then, their 3 top scorers are all transfers. They got the transfer from Charleston College. They got the transfer from JMU. I like Louisville. I like Louisville a lot. I just don't want to lay the points with them here, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I don't blame you laying those points because I do think Notre Dame has a chance to hang in this one. What do you think about the matchup between Rutgers and Oregon? Now, Jeff Dawson that joined us earlier was thinking Rutgers could be live in this one. I don't get the lines up here, but Scott gave me their team total of 72.5, and I do think it's a little light for Rutgers, and I think they could put those points on the board. What are you thinking, Cap, if anything, in that matchup?
Man, I didn't realize this. I guess, it just hasn't tipped yet. It will any minute. You got 2 players for Rutgers, right? You got Ace Bailey and you got Dylan Harper. They're both probably going to be in the NBA. They're both probably got good draft stock. And it all comes down to them. I mean, those 2 guys can score on any team at any point in time. And if you're talking about a team total, they can get there. Does the rest of the team for Rutgers show up? Probably not. I don't know if I'd want to lay, a number with Rutgers. But as far as a team total, Joe, I like that. I like their team total. You could always look at, like I said, Ace Bailey or Dylan Harper's prop. On the other side with Oregon, Jackson Selstad, I like him. I like Biddle, obviously. But I don't trust this Oregon team. I think they were overrated earlier in the season. And they're not somebody that I see doing much to finish this season either.
Mm-hmm. Auburn, Alabama, Duke, and Florida, Cab, named top seeds at the initial bracket, which is what college basketball is now doing these days. Any issues with that?
Auburn, Alabama, Duke, Florida. No, Alabama's the same as always. They can put up 100 on anybody, but they can get 100 points scored on them also, and that's a little frustrating on the Alabama side. Auburn's the best team in college basketball. I think it's safe to say that. I think most people can agree with that there. And then Duke, Duke's right up there too. So no, I agree with it, Scott. And Florida, the reason I like Florida is because these guys came back to play for a Florida team when they could have gone other places. Like Clayton and some of these guys playing for Florida, they had options. and they chose to come back. So shout out to Florida for that, for keeping the senior-led team or, returning starters. I think Florida's got a good chance to make a run this year.
All right. Talk with Cab Farrar. Check out his stuff over at the Pub Sports Radio. We'll take a break, come back, and Cab, if you got some time, we'll go over some of the NCAA futures. Some of the numbers are surprisingly low. I really am surprised at that. And then maybe even get some thoughts from Cab about the NBA, the over-under, what I was talking about before. GameDay Live continues on the Grid.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in-game live game day here on the Grid. Scott and Joe, hour number 4. Talking with Cab Farrar, Pub Sports Radio, a little college basketball with him. Keeping an eye on the Daytona 500, which is stopped again because of another crash. I don't even see one of my guys. Elliott's back on the board. He was gone a moment ago. Now I don't see Logano on the board. So these leaderboards just flip back and forth like every 5 seconds. It's amazing. So little college basketball here, Cab. I was telling you in the break, I was a little surprised, or before we left for a break, that the numbers, I think it's pretty well balanced. I really do. But Auburn are pretty much an overwhelming favorite at only 3-1 to win it all. Dookie Pukey's at plus 450. That's not bad. Then it jumps all the way up to Houston at 9-1, Florida 10-1, and on from there. I mean, in your eyes, is Auburn and Duke, I guess, that much of an overwhelming favorite?
Not Duke. Look, I like Duke, okay? And I like talking about Cooper Flagg, some of these younger players, they can play. But I think the problem with them is going to be, experience. And I think it always shows every single year we do the same dance with some of these freshmen, right? They're outstanding through the season. And then in the tournament, it's always experience that shines through, right? And I think Auburn, the reason I say I do trust Auburn and I think they're the best team is, they do have, even with, some of their freshmen that are on the team, they have that experience, whether you want to talk about Jeremiah Broome or some of these other players that, have been there, done that. Duke, on the other hand, I think maybe like Sweet 16, maybe Elite Eight. So I wouldn't say they're worth a bet. Houston, though, at 9-1, you heard my thoughts on Houston earlier. I get it. They're not the team that everybody thinks they are every year, but their offense doesn't have the holes in them. Houston used to go for 6, 7, 8 minutes without scoring a basket. They've done it the last 2 or 3 years. I don't think they do that this season. And if they don't do that, their defense is still one of the best. So I think at 9-1, there's value on Houston.
Yeah, definitely value for them. It's funny because people just don't see them as a sexy team, right? Because they're not able to, their offense just doesn't get that many points, but their defense really can lock down. So at 9-1, I think there's value. When you look down further on the list, I know it's hard without seeing where those brackets are going to come in, but is there anyone that you think for that Cinderella story? Like you mentioned St. John's, you like how they're playing. They're a plus 4,000 to be able to get it all done, or is there someone else out there that you really could see making a big push?
I mean, I don't know if Cinderella story would be the right term. I kind of touched on Memphis earlier. I don't think they're good enough to win the tournament, but Wisconsin. I want to go to Wisconsin. Okay. Wisconsin was not really on my radar coming into this season. And this basketball team is outstanding. They've got 2 7-footers, Stephen Crowell, and I'm going to blank on the other one because I'm just pulling it out. They got 2 7-footers down low. And then you got Blackwell, the guard, who I was shocked that Chucky Hepburn transferred. I was talking about him with Louisville earlier. He transferred because Blackwell was going to take his spot. I almost guarantee you that's what it was. And this Wisconsin team, if you look, they are the best free throw shooting team ever to play college basketball. Not in the nation, not this year, not in the Big Ten. They're the best free throw shooting basketball team ever right now. And I like that. I like the experience in the team. I think Wisconsin is going to make some noise. I've been making a lot of money backing Wisconsin also. So when they come back in a couple days, look at that spread wherever it's at.
Nolan Winter, you're referring to him? Was he the guy?
There you go, Winter.
11 guy. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
yep.
All right. It's funny, Duke was like the darling, and they lose the other day to Clemson, and then Clemson beats North Carolina, and then Clemson goes on the road, Cab, and wins at Florida State yesterday by about 35 points. All of a sudden, the ACC is not looking that bad. What do you think of this Clemson team?
It's funny when you say the ACC is not looking that bad. I think everybody's assumption of the ACC being so bad is just because North Carolina is terrible. How do you not have how are you North Carolina and you don't have a center on your basketball team? I just, how does that even happen? Right. But to go back to your question, yeah, the ACC is not so bad. And Clemson was supposed to be a good basketball team. They were ranked, if I'm not mistaken, at the beginning of the season. They've got some experience. I'm trying to go through, like I said, I don't have it pulled up. I think they got Hunter. He came back. Sheffield came back. They've got a few players that have been there that did pretty decent last year that are back on their team. So Clemson maybe just hitting form. Maybe that's what it is they're finally starting to hit form, right? I do think ACC's got some good ball clubs, though. Clemson can play. Duke can play. North Carolina is just terrible.
Did you have any other futures that you're holding tickets for coming into the season? And if so, how are they looking, Cap?
So I keep coming back to Memphis. I have a total on Memphis for the season because this was a year for Penny Hardaway where if Memphis doesn't, at least do something in this tournament, he might lose his job because they expect a good basketball team to take the court in Memphis. And I guess you can say they've had all the hype around them. Every year they've had a bunch of hype and then they just don't live up to it. This year they stacked their preseason schedule. If you look before conference started, Memphis was playing the upper echelon of college basketball and they were right there with them, right? I know they lost to Auburn, but they had other big games, like tons of big name games all lined up back to back to back. There you go. Thank you. They had the win against UConn. It's just now that they're in conference, right? You're ranked 14th. You're the best team in conference. they're not covering spreads because everybody's gunning for them. But when we get back to that tournament with Memphis, they can play with the upper teams. So I have a future on Memphis. They're going to get there for me on the future. I'm about 80% sure. So hopefully I didn't just jinx it. But right now it's looking very good.
Never
one quick NBA. One quick NBA. Anybody beating the Celtics? And is it worth betting on the Celtics, or is the number too low? Plus 230, I think it was last time I checked.
Probably. I mean, I wouldn't bet it. Personally, I wouldn't bet it. I hope somebody can beat the Celtics. Yeah, I hope somebody can beat them. I wouldn't bet them. I wouldn't bet them. But you're right. I mean, kind of like Auburn. They're the best team. The number's there for a reason. So,
yeah, maybe a little Team USA in hockey, Auburn college basketball, Celtics NBA champion.
No, it's Team Canada.
Pat, great job, man. Appreciate it.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass in the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop you back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush-push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes, end of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game go do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Again, thanks to Cap Farrar. Pub Sports Radio is his home on YouTube. Check him out on YouTube TV as well. As he joins us from time to time, giving us some of his thoughts, some of the winners for later on tonight. We got a couple of games later on tonight. We got the one game going on, Joe. College basketball, Rutgers and Oregon. Rutgers early on, 4.5 minutes in. Up 10-8, getting 5.5 and over under 154.5. Then we got the Daytona 500, which is back up and running. I must say, you know, FanDuel is very limited here in New York on some of the bets that they offer. I know other states they offer a lot more, but if there was a bet on how many leaders there would be, I don't even know what it would be. But I must say the over is looking pretty darn good because every time I turn around, there's another crash, there's another leader. The odds are going all over the place. Boy, I tell you what. So Ryan Blaney right now, check that. Priest, what's his first name? Ryan Priest is now the leader. Nope, they just flipped it now to Gregson. So we've had at least a dozen different leaders today. My two guys, Logano and Elliott. Elliott's in 7th. He's back on the leaderboard, and I don't see Joey Logano anywhere. There he is, 34th.
Seeing him locked. I'm seeing him completely locked on FanDuel, and I'm seeing Josh Berry locked and Ty Gibbs locked. So I'm guessing those guys were involved in a crash because it's very sporadic where they were sitting on that leaderboard and all of their lines to be locked. So there's 5, 6, maybe 8 guys, 9, 10 guys out here that do have those lines locked, Scott. And I said Josh Berry for that top 10 at plus 170. Not looking good with him locked out there, or Joey Logano.
Yeah, that's that. If your guy is locked in an auto race, that's generally not a good sign, right? So now they're all locked. So who knows? Maybe there's another crash. Auto racing is tough, man. It's just like I said, it's like golf. You got 10 guys that probably could win, if not even more than that. The only good thing is you're getting halfway decent odds with all these guys, and they're all like a half a second apart. They're all kind of clumped together. So I don't know how they're figuring out who's in first place when there's 3 guys right there. I guess they give it to the guy that's on the inside since he's got less of a track to run. Little too good. I just assumed that NBA basketball, but we got a couple shekels on these guys, so we'll keep it posted on that. Cindric now the leader. And another caution flag, 4th caution flag. This race is going to be going on tomorrow morning. When you wake up tomorrow morning, they'll be on lap 190, at a 200 lap. Yeah. So, all right, another crash, another caution. Back to the NBA board. Couple things here with the NBA, then I'm going to throw some baseball stuff at you. So as far as some more over-under, like I said, I do like the under Celtics. I really love the under Cleveland Chicago Bulls. I like the under Cleveland too, though. Now, this one's going to be a little tougher, but it's 63.5. They are 44-10. I mean, they just had a tremendous first half of the season, right? So they only need to go 20-8 in order to get to 64 wins. So why go under, right? Because that's seemingly pretty easy. Well, they only have 11 games at home, 17 on the road. Their schedule includes the Knicks, who they never beat, especially on the road, 3 times, including twice at Madison Square Garden, Memphis, Sacramento, San Antonio twice, Sacramento twice, and San Antonio twice, 2 times apiece, Boston, and at Milwaukee. And that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 10 tough games. Now, they're going to win some, but let's just say they go 5-5. Now, all of a sudden, they need to go 15-3 the rest of the way. And much like with the Celtics, Joe, I don't think they're going to have that much motivation the final couple of weeks because they more than likely will have the number 1 seed locked up in the Eastern Conference. So throw that into the equation, and I don't think they go 20-8. I really don't. I'm going to play the under on that one.
Yeah, it seems like a lot to ask out of them, especially if they're sitting in that position and they're not going to play their starters. They're not going to push to get things done. What do you think of the LA Lakers? We know the Lakers added Luka out there. We know LeBron James is strong on this team. They've got a win total of 49.5, Scott. The juice is actually to the under 49.5. Do you think the Lakers in this last push here can get things done? Looking at them for the Western Conference, they're 3rd in the Western Conference to get done at plus 800.
Yeah, I like the Lakers. I'm going to buy in. They were going to be one of my teams. It's the only over team I have, over 49.5. They need to go 18-12 the rest of the way, 16 home, 14 on the road. They're more than capable of winning on the road. They have the carrot in front of them. They need to keep on winning to finish in the number 2 spot. I don't think they're going to OKC for number 1, but I think they go 18-12 the rest of the way. I do. All right, more coming up.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and 4th down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass on the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop you back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes. End of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game go do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Final half hour, Joe, and yours truly until 8 p.m. Eastern time before we close up shop here on SportsGrid. Rutgers leading Oregon 21-17 now midway through the first half. So we're getting slower and slower into this basketball game, and Rutgers, we both thought kind of were live dogs today, especially with the points. It's at 156.5. The line is down to 3.5. And Rutgers still getting plus 144 on the money line. I imagine we'd have to get this thing into the second half with Rutgers leading before they actually flip to being a favorite. But right now, Joe, Scarlet Knights kind of holding their own against Oregon.
Yeah, it's great to see, Scott, because we took their team total 72.5. Well, that's where I wanted to take it. I can't bet it up here in Canada for some strange reason, but we're getting on pace for them to nicely clear that 72.5, even if we do see Oregon make a pullback in this game. So 21-17 is what I'm seeing for those lines, and I'm happy to see it with Rutgers out here. So hopefully they're able to hold on and maybe even pull off that upset like Jeff Dawson was hoping for.
Yep. Go back to the NBA. We're just going over some of the over-unders, keeping an eye on the Daytona 500 as well. How about the Golden State? Another under team for me, Joe. Under 44.5. They're 28-27 right now. They would need to go 17-10 to get to 45 wins. Listen, they made the Jimmy Butler trade. I get that. They're playing a little bit better basketball, but if you look at their schedule, it's not easy. They only got 6 games against what I would call patsies. And I just don't think Jimmy B is going to make that big a difference. That's from going from 500 basketball to 17-10. That's a huge jump up in the Western Conference. You got to play a lot of tough teams, and I just don't think. I know they want to win. I know they're going to give it their all. This is one of the few teams that's actually a win now type of team where they're kind of bordering on making the playoffs, and they're going to give it the old college try. I get that with Jimmy B, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think they're going to go 17-10. Pretty even split as far as home games and road games, but I don't have that confidence with this Warrior team.
It's a lot to ask for them, but I do like the addition of Jimmy Butler out there. But 17-10 for the rest of the season, man, they've got to bring their A game straight out of the gate after this All-Star break, and they need to pile up those wins right away, Scott, because I think down the stretch, looking at their schedule, there could be some hiccups and some struggles down there. So I think this is one we'll know right out of the gate how they do in that first handful of games out there if they're going to get close. Now that 44.5, it's juiced to the over at minus 112. You're getting minus 108 to the under. I think it comes really tight to this number. So not something that I want to invest in. I'm hoping they're able to go over it, but it's just not worth it for my money.
Yeah. It used to be where you'd say, okay, Golden State at home, it's going to be an automatic win, but not with this team. And they had the unfortunate being their tough schedule is at home, and their road schedule isn't that bad. At home, they have Dallas, which we know is fighting for a playoff spot, Sacramento, which won't be easy, Knicks, Denver, Milwaukee. Then they go on a monster 6-game road trip, Denver again, Houston, San Antonio, which not too bad. I mean, that's you just can't circle those games and say win. And then we all know on the road with this Golden State team, anything can happen on the road. There's no longer again a pencil automatic W when they take on Miami or Atlanta or San Antonio. They're more than capable of losing those games. So 17-10. I think that's a public line. I think people just want to bet on Golden State, especially since the Jimmy Butler trade. But I don't think they get there. I really don't. How about Philadelphia? Another team. I'm done with the 76ers, Joe. It's 32.5. They're 20-34, 14 games under 500. They would have to go 13-15 the rest of the way, which doesn't seem like that big a deal, right? Home 14, road 14, so even split on the remaining 28 games. But again, this Philadelphia team, I'm done with them. You can't trust them. No one's healthy. No one wants to play. Is Embiid hurt? Maxey hurt? George hurt? If they're not hurt now, they will be hurt. I don't think they get to 32 wins. I really don't.
Well, and looking at the line there, you can't take the over 32.5. The books have it so highly juiced at minus 152. So if you like it to stay under, Scott, you're actually getting plus money at plus 124 to the under. And like you said, injuries plaguing this team. This team just can't find those wins out there on the hardwood. So I would take the under way before I took that one over that total, because at minus 152, it is unbettable for me. So I'm with you, the under 32.5. It's shocking, some of these win totals, looking at them thinking, how can they not? These teams play so many games out there, but you're right. I just don't see the 76ers being able to do it either.
Yeah. People want to buy into this team, like they want to buy into Milwaukee and certain teams that are struggling, but it's just, for me, it comes to a certain point where you just say enough. They've lost 5 in a row, 7 of 8. Again, no one wants to play, and I just don't think all of a sudden they're going to turn that around. And even though you only need a few wins, basically under 500, but you look at their schedule, they play Boston, they play at the Knicks, they play at Minnesota, at Boston, at Dallas, at Houston, at OKC. They're not winning those games. At the Knicks again, Milwaukee, Minnesota at home. They might get a few of the wins, but this is a reputation number. This is Philadelphia fully healthy. Fully healthy with Maxey and George and Embiid. Oh, absolutely. They easily could go 13-15. But those guys have just shown it's not happening. And I don't think the ability to make the postseason is all of a sudden going to make these guys want to play. I just don't. So I like more unders. And in the one Laker game. The Lakers are really the only one that I like the over, because second half of the season, these teams most just don't want to play.
What about the New York Knicks? They've got a win total of 54.5. We're getting minus 142 to the under, but plus 116 to the over. Do you think we could get a push out of the Knicks that is needed for them to be able to break that number, Scott?
Let me see. What is it again? 54.5.
Plus 116 over, minus 142 to the under. So right, we're getting plus money.
So they need 55 wins. So they have they need 19 more wins. They played 44 games, right? 36-18, 44 more games. So or 54 games, obviously. So they got 64, 74. So they got 28 games. So they'd have to go 19-9.
It's a lot.
Pretty even split as far as home and away. 29 home, 25 away. So they're going to have more. Actually, they're going to have more, about 3 or 4 more road games than they will home games. Let me check their schedule here. Bulls stink. That's a win. At Cleveland, at Boston. Ooh, that's tough. Philadelphia at home win. At Memphis. At Miami. But they really do have a lot of road games. Then they go out west. Lakers, Clippers, Sacramento, Portland. Yeah, I don't think it's happening.
That's why the juice is to the under then, I guess. Hey, minus 142. I just looked at that and I'm like, come on, the Knicks. We're getting plus money, plus 116. It seems like it's so reachable for them. But yeah, when you start looking at that schedule, they're not beating the Lakers. This Lakers team is really going to step up, I think, in this last push here. So I'm with you.
You know, somebody they would have to have a couple surprise wins. You know, they're going to beat the Bulls. Like they'd have to get like a split out of at Cleveland and at Boston. They could get it. You know, but they would have to do that. Get a split out of at Memphis, at Miami. That's a possibility. And then go worst 2-2 on that Lakers, Clippers, Sacramento, Portland road trip. They're a good team, man. I mean, it wouldn't shock me, but it doesn't jump off the page. I will say this: that they'd be fighting off the Celtics or trying to go for the Celtics at the number 2 spot, so they would have reason to play their games, unlike some of these teams down the stretch. But 19-9, yeah. Anyway, I think I'll stay away from that one. All right, in-game live.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass in the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop you back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush-push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes, end of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game go do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in-game live, game day here on the grid. Scott and Joe just checking out some of the NBA futures. I am curious, and our producer, who's a 76er fan, Joe, told us in the break there that the 76ers draft choice for this year is number 6 or lower protected. And right now they're sitting in the number 6 spot as far as the worst record goes. Now that could turn into number 8 depending on how the ping pong balls go. But one more reason for Philadelphia to not win games. So it wouldn't surprise me if they put things in the tank and said that's it for Embiid and this guy and that guy. Unfortunately, they don't offer us Washington Wizard numbers. I was curious to see what the Wizards number is because they only have 9 wins, 9-45. I don't know what they would have given us, 15, 14. I don't know if they're going to win more than 2 or 3 the rest of the way, but FanDuel anyway doesn't offer us Washington Wizard numbers, unfortunately.
Which is crazy. Like, that's so limited for the amount of wins they've had on the season, Scott. How do you not accidentally get someone in like this weird scheduling spot where they're looking past you and get a couple more wins out there? So that is insane to see. They've only won that many games on the season, but I'm with you at 14.5. I still would have taken it to the under. I'm looking at a really interesting prop bet out there for LeBron James. You know, we love to bet things on LeBron, especially when he's not showing up, right? So we look at James 10+ point streak in each game that he plays in. So if he doesn't play a game, he doesn't record any minutes in the game, it's not broken. But if you take the no to that at +700, do you think he's going to come out and have a really off game one game? Like if he comes out, hits the court for the first quarter and then just doesn't come out for the rest, as long as he plays that first quarter, stays under the 10 points, you're going to win it at no at +700. Can we get a game like that out of LeBron?
You know, I saw that prop, and he must have some major streak going. So, you know, he's not playing tonight. Really, in the All-Star game? Wow. How about that? I would think yes, Joe. I you know, just because there's a chance of him like tweaking his ankle or something goofy like I don't think he'll play an entire game and not get 10 points. But could he, you know, twist his ankle and then sit out the remaining second half and he's only sitting on like 7, 8, 9 points? At 7-1, I think that's worth a shot. I really do.
So I was shocked at that line because the yes is -1200. So we know LeBron, we know his ability to get those points on the board. But like you said, he comes out, his knee feels a little off. He records, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes on the court, gets a basket. It's still, even if he hits the court, he makes one play and then he decides not to play. It's broken that streak. So 10+ point streak, I would say no for the rest of the season. That's coming in at +700. And again, you guys, if he misses a game because he takes a night off, it doesn't count. It doesn't break that 10-point streak. He has to hit the court. But you're right, Scott, +700. I thought it was going to be like +100 to the no. I was shocked.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like I said, at +7-1, it's worth a shot. It really is. So LeBron, he announced today that, or not that long ago, actually, that he's not playing tonight. Lingering discomfort in his foot and ankle. Are you kidding me? You can't suit up for an all-star game, LeBron. I mean, these NBA players are pathetic. I mean, they're just like, are you kidding me? No one's playing any defense. Maybe this might be the NBA's way of fighting back. You know, the NBA and Adam Silver, right? The players, they want to rule everything. And every single time the commissioner, who's by far the worst commissioner in the history of sports, tries to add a little something and try and show the world that he's in charge, the players fight back. And I think this is the players' way of saying, you know what? You want us to play defense? You're going to change this format and all this goofiness? Fine. I'm not playing that. You know what? If it's an exhibition game and I can just run up and down the court, I'll play. But if you tell me you want this to be a serious game, nope, my ankle's too sore. Sorry, sitting this one out.
Well, They don't even play their normal games at 100%, some of these games, right? Like they sit out when they've got a little bit of a twinge. So why play in something meaningless? Right? I don't understand it because it's not like what they're doing in hockey right now. This is really for pride over there in hockey. And it kind of makes me question, like, as soon as you said that about LeBron and not playing, Cale Makar missed the last game for Team Canada. So how bad was it for Cale Makar that he couldn't hit the ice? Because these hockey players, they play even though they'll go back for stitches in a period, right? And then come back out on the ice. So how bad was it for Cale Makar? Or was this a strategy to make Team USA think they could get the win and not see Cale Makar in the lineup? Because I think Canada will be in the finals.
You know what? I was guessing it was COVID, Joe. I don't think it's flu. I mean, how bad can the flu be? I mean, listen, I've had the flu. I get it. It can be really, really bad. But, it generally subsides after a couple of days. I think it's COVID, and he can't be around the players, and that's what's kind of keeping him from playing. Because you're right. These guys play with busted jaws, literally, half an eyeball hanging out, broken legs, and they're out there on the ice the next shift, right? So for him not to play because of sickness, Yeah, we all know how hockey is, right? They hide these injuries, but if it's actual sickness, then I think it's COVID and it just can't be out there. They're not going to allow it.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Because you even look at like when these players have had flus, you've seen them run back into the locker room, then get back out there on the bench and not even skip a beat. So they're used to playing under all circumstances. That totally was something I didn't even think of, Scott, but it does make sense. Hopefully he is in the lineup. They're saying he should be out to play tomorrow for Team Canada versus Finland. So hopefully he makes a huge impact and Canada's able to win in regulation tomorrow.
Yeah. He's on Team Shaq, and that does not change the line any, I will say. Although, you know what it did do? It changed the winning. So Team Shaq tonight is laying 6.5 against Team Candace. That's the rookie All-Stars. And Team Shaq before was minus 105 to win it all. Now they're plus 130. Interesting.
Wow.
So they don't think he's going to miss tonight, at least not the first game. But as far as winning it all, yeah, they've got to the second place behind Team Chuck. In-game live is up next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass in the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop you back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush-push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes. End of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game go do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe wrapping up shop here. We got the Daytona 500, a couple of college basketball games going on. Daytona 500, 112 laps of 200, so just over the halfway point. Ryan Cindric with the lead. Ooh, my boy, Mr. Elliott. Chase Elliott is in second place, Blaney third, and where's my other guy, Logano? Logano's in 15th place. All right, kind of hanging around. Those are the two that we put a couple of shekels on. Paul Skeens reporting today, Pittsburgh Pirates pitcher, experimenting with two new pitches this spring, a cutter and a two-seamer. I wouldn't fool around with this dude. Listen, they'll screw his arm up. Just keep on doing whatever you're doing. No sense adding any more pitches, Joe. Are you buying into The LA Dodgers, because FanDuel, speaking of prop bets, offer up a prop. Will the Dodgers set the record for most wins ever in the regular season, 117? They're giving us plus 790. DraftKings is giving us 10-1. One of the podcast crew has said so on DraftKings. So 117 wins. Their over-under is only, to me, 104.5. I think this team could put 120 wins on the board. I mean, they're loaded. If they take this thing seriously, then there's no stopping them. No, I'm not going to say they're going to win a World Series because you get in a best of 5 and a best of 7. Anything can happen. I don't care how good you are. But as far as regular season goes, I don't know if this team loses 55 times. I really don't. I'm going to put a couple shekels on that, set the record, and definitely the over 104.5.
I think you absolutely have to. You look at the LA Dodgers and you look at how this team is built coming into the season and all the players that they have added, and they just keep getting richer out there. I really do think 117 plus regular season wins, they can do it. And I do think they have to take it seriously, because if they can't break records like this, then what is this team doing, putting out so much money and having all of these players, Scott? I think they can get it done at plus 790. It has value. If you think it's the New York Yankees who are able to do it, that's at plus 5,000. But I think it is the Dodgers. I love their win total as well, where you're going with that. I think they can nicely clear that. And I do think when you talked about Paul Skeens, I know Cap Farrar wasn't big on him. No, we didn't talk with Cap on him. Tom Vecchio wasn't big on him for his strikeouts. Right. It's Paul Skeens all day for me to be able to go over his strikeouts. I love what he brings to the table. And you're right. They can't screw around with his arm because they will blow it out. But this team keeps putting him out in those positions, even though he doesn't need to stay in games. He's still staying in those games. He can get those strikeouts on the board. I'm just trying to remember what his strikeout prop was here, because I'm trying to find it again.
It was 212.5. It was 212.5, I think it was.
He's going to get it. He's going to get it, Scott.
Yeah, I agree. I know Tom wasn't on him being big either, but yeah, I'm with you, Joe. I think he's gonna have a monster year. No more worried about being limits, pitching limits, and the LSU and all that other. I think he's gonna be tremendous. I really do. 1 o'clock tomorrow. Last chance. Canada, Finland. All right, it's a monster number, so tell me how you're going to attack this. I know it's Canada, but they're minus 410 against Finland. You want to lay 4.5, it's minus 150 even. Over under is 6.5. I'm thinking, Joe, first period. I think the Canadians are all ticked off about what happened last night. Life on the line here. They need to win. I think they come out flying, and maybe you can get some value by betting them in the first period versus the entire game.
And for anyone that's listening and not watching, Scott did the quotation marks on his value there, which I absolutely love. I'm going to say it all the time now, Scott. I love where you're going with that first period. Puck line for Canada, minus 1.5, coming in at minus 108. Finland was able to get the first goal versus Sweden in their first matchup. And I do believe they went up first versus Team USA. So this is a team that has been brutally fast in that first period on the two teams that they played. But you're right. Canada's going to come in off that disappointing loss versus Team USA. Team USA was able to put up 6 goals on Finland after they got their feet in under them. And I think Canada, with how they lost that last game, they know they have to get those goals right away. So yeah, I'm puck line here first period as well, Scott, laying a half a goal at minus 108. And I think for the full game, you can lay the puck line with Team Canada here as well. I'm expecting those goals to come in nicely. So minus 1.5, minus 150. Let's do all puck line. Let's lay 2.5 in this one. I think they win it by 3.
All right. And I'd even put a couple shekels of over 1.5 goals first period, Canada, plus 2-1. No, great job as always. We'll do it again next week and enjoy your week.